Hi, I'm Teresa Kano with Stitch and Tree, and today we're working on North to Alaska. You'll be using all 5 green tree fabrics, the green mountain background fabric, and 2 different mountain background fabrics, a black mountain and a gray mountain. You've numbered your fabrics from 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Use the chart on the pattern indicated to know how many flying geese units you need of each color. Pay particular attention because some of the trees require mountain background fabric and then possibly a mountain fabric as well. If it makes it easier, place a number on each one of the fabrics so that you can keep them straight. You're welcome to substitute at any given time. The fabrics do not have to be in any particular order, for example, light to dark or dark to light. Just mix them up and toss them in there. And we have a random order for the trees to go on the mountain. Because as you know, the trees on the mountain are not in any particular order, light to dark or dark to light. They're placed on the mountain exactly where God wants them to be placed. The trees are made from flying geese, following a very traditional construction method. If you have a method that works better for you, you're welcome to use that and cut your fabrics accordingly. Remember, the finished unit of each flying geese is 2 inches by 4 inches. The unfinished unit for each flying geese is 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. With the traditional construction, you begin with your tree, quarter square triangle, and you'll add your half square triangle of the background unit, matching the right angle of the background unit to the long side of the flying geese. You'll put it through your machine and stitch from top to bottom, making sure that your 1/4 inch is true. I like to chain piece my flying geese units, just like I chain piece any block going through my machine. Again, I'll place my half square background fabric on top of my 1/4 square tree and just feed it through my machine in one long chain. It is important you keep that right angle lined up with the long side of the tree. You will note that the corner of the half square will overlap that tree, and that's okay. We'll cut that off later. Once I've passed all of the units through my machine, I need to break apart the chain, and I can cut each piece individually, or I like to use a chain ripper. It's just a handy seam ripper that we have that sets in a base, that when it's sitting on my table, I can find it because it's sitting in the base. But when I need it for a chain ripper, I just remove the ripper, put it in the base, and I can pop those seams apart, laying them nicely in a pile, ready to process for the next step. And the next step is pressing. When pressing your flying geese units, simply set your hot iron without steam. Remember, steam will introduce stretch into your units, and you're already dealing with bias on this side seam. So you want to set the seam by setting the iron on it and then press it to the outside. Just hold that iron on there for 5 seconds. 5 bananas, 5 Mississippis, or in this case, 5 Alaskas. And you'll do that for each one of the units in the set. You can see the beginning of these leftover, we normally would call them dog ears. In this case, we're going to call them Alaskan husky ears. You can see them making their appearance on your block unit. Don't worry, we'll trim those off later. Now, as you add the second half square triangle to the unit, you again are going to match that corner here and line that right angle up with the long side, matching the seam all the way across, and you will note that it overlaps, again, your previous seam, giving you that dog ear at the top. Go ahead and run those through your machine. I like to run these from the outside to the inside corner. These units can also be chain pieced, allowing you to get through your tree stitching a lot faster. I've seen quilters playing around with trying to decide which way to go with that half square unit. Remember, it's so easy. The 90-degree angle matches up with that long side. Corners match up perfectly. and you stitch towards the overlap. Pop those seams apart from your chain piece tree. And you're ready to press to complete the flying geese section. Again, just set your iron on it for 5 Alaskas and press to the outside. And there we have our finished flying geese unit for the trees. Next, I'll show you how to trim those up. So now we have our roughly 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch flying geese section, and it has Alaskan husky ears, dog ears sticking out of every side. We want to size this up and trim this up. I like to use a 4.5 inch ruler because it makes it really easy to size up a 4.5 inch piece. I simply place the ruler on the flying geese section, and I'm looking at my little line here through the 2 1/4, which shows me that I'm centered right on the pitch of my flying geese. And I'm looking at my outside edges. And then I trim off the unit. You can see I'm at the 2.5 inch line here. It's 4.5 inches wide, and this one was fairly square. You can also see that I have a little bit of a gap here at the top of that flying geese, and I have a little bit of a gap here, and it's okay because these are trees and these flying geese do not have to be perfect. If some of them look a little wonky, that's all right. We'll just say the wind's blowing on them. So I'll square up each unit individually, making sure that I'm working with a 4.5 by 2.5 inch piece as I finish that. Once you've trimmed all of your tree geese units, put them in bags according to the fabric color, bring them on the ship, and they'll be ready to be pieced into trees.